Hi, I'm Gaia Melikian, and I'm beyond thrilled to be here with Academy Award-winning, super talented, and of course charming, Mr. Matthew McConaughey.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you, Matthew?
Very nicely, thank you.
Congratulations on this epic new film. It is such an amazing story. It's called Free State of Jones. It is based on historical events that took place during the mid to late 19th century. Can you please tell us about the story?
Beginning of the Civil War, there's a man, Newton Knight, who lived in southeast Mississippi. So he formed this rebellion that was poor white farmers who also deserted from the Confederacy and these runaway slaves, and they took the battle to different Confederate armies along the way and won many of them. And then after the war, and after Reconstruction was over in 1876, he continued to fight for the rights of African Americans until the day he died. I think he was 94 years old. A very important and entertaining piece of American history that most people do not know about, and a story worth sharing.
Absolutely. I found it to be such a raw and heartbreaking story, both from a war and just basic humanity, perspective.
Yeah.
And it's a wonder why we haven't known about this amazing story thus far. Matthew, what led to your involvement in this ambitious project?
Gary Ross, the writer and director, came to me. We sat on the back porch of my home in Texas for, about 5 hours the first night. And I understood how important the story was to him. I understood how accurate it was in historical context. I, like you and most people, were like, why haven't I heard this before? It was a script that would have worked as a great film, even if it was fiction. But the fact that it was true was extra incentive to say, oh, this really should be shared, and I'd like to be a part of sharing it.
You did such a brilliant job portraying this historical figure, Newton Knight. What type of research and prepping did you do for your role?
Gary teed me up with a lot of books to look at. I talked to other historians in the South. I did a 2-week tour in the South at different spots like Vicksburg and places where different battles in the Civil War were, to get an understanding of the overall context of what was going on in America at that time outside of this story and all around this story. Went to Ellisville, spent time with the descendants of Newton Knight. That's his town where he lived, and still has a lot of descendants and family and lineage there. There was a lot of fun that I had with the Mississippi accent.
Yeah.
And that's how I spent those first 3 months, kind of on the road in the South with all these books and context that Gary had turned me on to, as well as talking to different historians, and then meeting the man, hearing people who knew the man, deciphering fact from folklore.
How fascinating. So you were living and breathing his sort of a life and kind of trying to follow
trying to. It's part of the fun part about my job is the research is the hardest work, but it's also very fun because you're gaining knowledge along the way.
Absolutely.
And it takes time because you don't want to be thinking about it on the day.
Yeah.
You want to understand it,
Now, Matthew, Newton was such a man of principle.
Yep.
And a heroic leader of basic human rights.
Yep.
So when I saw the story, I couldn't help but compare his ideology to that of Dr. Martin Luther King's.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, these are two men that knew they couldn't be free if another man was not free. And they had ideals. For Newt had ideals that he was willing to wage war on, and did wage war on his basic ideals. Talk about those simple understandings of humanity, which is a word you brought up, which is very important. Mm-hmm. Now, Newt was a little more the barrel of a shotgun.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was both get a lot of their understanding and incentive from the Bible, which is, many different phrases, how you're your brother's keeper, how, treat your neighbor as you would yourself. Golden rule. A lot of both their understandings come from the Bible in that way. Also for Newt, Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal. Now again, with Newt, very Old Testament, going to do this with the barrel of a shotgun and the Bible. Yeah. At the same time, a great compassion and understanding and empathy for humanity. Could not see a wrong done to someone, could not see and ignore it. Just couldn't do it.
Matthew, in one of the flash forward trial scenes, one of the attorneys is giving a statement, and he says, "Normally in a court of law, we have trouble proving who the father is. But in this strange case, we have trouble proving the mother. Time has a way of changing things." And as soon as he says that, the camera zooms over the jury, and you just see a panel of white middle-aged men. And watching that as a viewer, I kind of got a little bit of a chuckle because I couldn't help but think, wow, this was such a clever way for the director, Gary Ross, to kind of show us and remind us that look how far we've come just from even 50, 60, 70 years ago in matters concerning, racial segregation and women's rights and whatnot. Do you think that that was an intentional hidden message?
I don't know. Clever pickup.
Yeah.
I'm betting he will say with a wink, yes, there was a reason I did that.
Yeah, it was just so perfect.
Right.
One of the most heartbreaking scenes for me was when your character finds Moses dead. As an actor, how do you feel? What goes through your mind when you are reenacting a scene that was an unfortunate but true part of our history versus just a fictional scene?
Here's what, for me, I know a scene like that, and I go to the director as I went to Gary and the dads, look, take one. Make sure you get, because it's going to happen on take one. And I have a phrase I'll say, and it's half in jest, but it's partially true. Everything after take one is acting.
Yeah.
The first take is reacting. So I didn't want to see what I was going to see. I didn't hear anything. I was off to myself. And then when I hear action, I came back in. And I saw everything from his feet hanging, up his legs, and reveal what I saw. And I'm seeing it for the first time. So I'm not acting. I'm reacting to what I'm seeing and what happened in there.
Yeah.
That was all the first take.
That was brilliant.
After that, then you have to conjure up like, oh, I'm seeing it for the first time,
Yeah.
which is harder.
Matthew, when you're reading a script for the first time, what is that pivotal ingredient that entices you to be a part of that project?
One, can this become a character that one day, hopefully, hopefully it'll be before we start shooting, but can it one day become a character that I believe nobody else could have played it but me?
Right.
When does that happen? You hope it happens before you start shooting. Second best, you hope it happens while you're shooting. And if it doesn't happen while you're shooting, it's like, damn it, maybe I didn't do the work to get there. But the opportunity to feel like, I think I can get to a place where I feel like this, no one else could do this but me.
Right.
And that takes a lot of work to get to that point. Secondly, I want to be surrounded by a good story.
Yeah.
I've read plenty of scripts where there's an amazing character, but the story's not strong enough around it.
Sure.
So I want to be supported by a good story, even if I'm the lead in it. Third, who am I working with? What's their style of working? We don't have to have the same style, but I want to have the same measure of excellence,
Right.
the same measure of what we deem to be true or not true.
Right.
So we're not battling each other, because not that an actor and a director have to get along perfectly. You don't have to do that. I want to be pushed by the director. Hopefully I can push them some as well. And go have an experience. Can I go have an experience in the making of this? Can I enjoy the experience? Even if no one sees it, can I enjoy the experience? And I sure as hell hope people see it.
Yeah.
But can I enjoy the experience of making it?
You know exactly what you want, very eloquently said.
None of those are guarantees either. So that's what I'm looking for, but none of those are
Right.
guarantees.
It's
But they're
ideal.
bets that I'm laying down.
Matthew, you received much deserved recognition for your incredible performance in Dallas Buyers Club. So now that a couple of years have passed, what is the one thing that you recall from the night that you won the Oscar?
Right afterwards, I went to this great steak restaurant I like. And I like ribeyes on a bone. And I like to eat them with my hands. And I did. And the second ribeye, this is an hour and 15 minutes after the Oscars are over. I chomped into it and snapped my front tooth in half. And I had half my tooth and had a big gap right here. And the rest of the night I said, I'm going to drink my red wine with a big gap in my tooth. And I went out in my tux with a with one front tooth. That's what I remember, because I remember laughing, looking up, going, oh, the joke's on me. Okay. And then I was like, damn, glad I didn't happen 15 minutes before the Oscars.
That's amazing. I love that story.
True.
You truly enjoyed it. You lived it. Please finish the sentence for me. My mama taught me.
Don't answer to Matt, only Matthew.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's very
How she
sweet.
taught me wasn't sweet.
Oh.
It was a butt whooping.
It was real.
It worked, though.
Matthew, could you please finish the sentence in one word? Or maybe three. Matthew McConaughey is
Doing the best I can.
wonderful. Can I get an all right, all right, all right?
All right, all right, all right. You can get that.
Thank you so
All right.
much. It's
Have
a
a good one.
pleasure meeting you.